And from there, once I got the books and I more so was able to study those and more YouTubes and whatnot, and my knowledge sort of expand, I was able to more so get into a bunch of different subjects such as mysticism, spirituality, and then like everything just came at me a million miles of out. Everything just came at me like a million miles an hour, and I was able to bring it all together with like everything that I was learning all at once, which made my practice very eclectic and syncretic at the end of the day. The big turning point for that time was probably more so coming onto Tumblr, because once I came onto Tumblr, I decided that I was more so going to write down all of my information on a blog, not so that people could see it or anything or critique me or things like that. It was more so for my own use so that I would be able to have a space to come back to with all the information that I learned. But eventually, once you start posting things, apparently people read it, which is weird. And because of that, and the Tumblr community in which I eventually met, they ended up changing a lot of my understandings and more so filtering out more so what I did and did not need, like understandings of cultural appropriation and a lot more like ethical type things, along with starting my sort of love for philosophy and later even poetry. Tumblr has played a very important part in how my craft has developed, along with all the practitioners that I was able to more so meet on there. Because from that point, I wasn't really interacting with other practitioners. I was interacting with the works of practitioners that either lived a long time ago or the work of practitioners on like YouTube and stuff like that. I wasn't able to more so one on one with it, which was a very much different experience. During my time on Tumblr, at least in the beginning thing, when I was more so interacting with a lot of people, I was able to also interact with the understanding of sigils. I did have a little bit of understanding from sigils back when I was studying all those books and whatnot, because I did run into sigils in the books, and I did run into people on YouTube back in that day who made videos and whatnot on sigil magic. And I was also pretty intrigued by chaos magic for what it was trying to do. But I was off put by how chaos magicians speak and more so do things, and their dogma and a non dogmatic system type stuff, which I still kind of have a problem with today. But because of Rose on Tumblr and her sigils, I decided to more so follow what she was doing to see if I would be able to create things to help me in my practice that way as well. And from creating sigils and people eventually liking my sigils and whatnot, and a person coming along and saying, put a circle around your sigils and things like that, pretty much gave me the birth of my sigil like designs and whatnot that I continuously still post to this day. It was my love for sigils that pretty much made me continue looking into chaos magic to find some of the more deeper understandings, such as the alphabet of desire and servitor and thought form creation in general, which once I figured out about thought form creation, I created my first thought form, which I forgot the name of, which was a raven who eventually went rogue because I had no idea what I was doing at the time. And I went through the ethical, unethical decision of not destroying the servitor, which you're also not supposed to do. You're supposed to destroy them when they go rogue. But because I did that, I more so just trapped it in a rock, or like bound it to a rock, and I put that rock out in middle of a marshland and wiped my hands of it. After doing that, I did learn more so how to go about creating servitors. So I ended up creating my second servitor, which was another raven named Kaurita. And after I created Kaurita, and she actually worked out, she became sort of like my helper entity that I would use in my magic. And I still do use in my magic. A little bit less now in this day and age because I have so many other like ways of doing magic, but she is still in my practice. But from creating these two ravens and then learning also about the alphabet desire led me to create the Ravens of Antimony. The Ravens of Antimony is my alphabet of desire. It was also one of my most planned rituals even to this day. Like it has like moon phases and things like that, and it had like a wooden housing for every single raven of antimony, which I wanted to also be a servitor. And from this ritual, I actually did like actually cut myself and dripped it over the housing and things like that. And also, while doing all of this, still in secret, by the way, I was not out of the broom closet at that point. In my house, after everyone has sort of like fallen asleep, that ritual is still one of the most ecstatic rituals that I think I've ever done. Like, I really felt the energy and presence of everything going on in that ritual. And that ritual is still creating one of my most useful tools for my practice, still, which is the Ravens of Antimony. Because Tumblr also inspired me to get into philosophy and start learning just more stuff in general, it led me to creating the different aspects of my practice, like the different I guess they are just really aspects, um which is Vyadeshuism, my philosophy, and religion. Librita Malera, which is my healing modality, and then Arta, which is my more so custom form of martial arts, which I also really don't talk too much about. And then there is one more, but its name is still pretty much a work in progress, which has to do with governance, but I also don't talk too much about that. These four aspects really are the main things of my practice presently at this point, though I'm guessing at some point I'm also going to add more. Um, Primarily, the most important one is Vyadeshuism, sitting with my religion and philosophy, and is the most widely one I actually talk about. After I sort of got to this point in my practice where I had my understandings from eclectic and syncretic practices, my own sort of stuff laid out and starting, such as my religion and other like spiritual practice sort of things like the Ravens of Antimony and whatnot, I more so expanded and kept making sigils and sort of talking to other practitioners and doing a lot more eclectic stuff, learning and going around. And which really brings me to this point in my practice, which at this point I'm more so not dropping the eclectic thing, but I'm more focused on new my practice, not like the practices of others and whatnot, but more so trying to improve what I have set forth. That way I can really draw more stuff from myself rather than other people and can create more so my own type of culture and tradition around magic and witchcraft. And because of that, I don't really consider myself eclectic or syncretic anymore. And more so, I'm starting a new path, which is what I refer to as neopraxism. And that's pretty much my, like, the basic overview of my entire journey from like beginning to end. I probably missed a lot in between because, again, this video is not like scripted or anything, and it's really just me rambling off my head of what I remember and stuff like that, and how sort of this progression system works of me going like up the ladder of my practice, getting to this point, and then more so thinking about where I'm going to go from here, which is more so focusing on my own stuff rather than learning more stuff about other people's practices and traditions and whatnot. Even though I'm still going to do that because I just really like it. That's pretty much it, though. Goodbye, my friends.